don't see myself doing anything else. And I rather stick with this and see what happens than go and be somewhere where I'm not happy.
Everyone through the Dominican Writers Association doesn't necessarily need to be Dominican to take part in the stories. It's just that they're amplifying Dominican voices because there was no Dominican voices in writing.
I'm blessed that right now I'm able to say I could do this full time because my husband is supporting us. He's taking care of us. He's doing what he needs to do it because he knows, he's like, I know that you're good at this and I know that you love this. So I want to support you in every way I can so that you can go do what you have to do and see where it takes us.
And why do we have a hard time promoting ourselves? Is it because we grew up being muchacha cállate? Or you know, I cried about it in private. Like most recently, we had a very negative comment. It was so negative. And it was disheartening because Hello, everyone. My name is Luz Maria Mack. I'm a Dominican American children's book author, and I am the proud host of The Missing Book. The Missing Book is a podcast dedicated to celebrating our creatives in multiple genres, whether you're traditionally published or self-published or are the inspiration behind a book. We're celebrating these voices that are so often overlooked by major platforms. And here we have a chance to talk to my dear friend, an inspiration, a writer, a poet, Miss Lisa Gil Ventura. Welcome, Lisa.
Hi, Luz. Thank you so much for having me. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here. This is very exciting because I thought that at some point in my life I would want to do some sort of like a podcast, and here we are.
Here we are, right? It took forever.
Yes.
So before we jump right in, if you could just say who you are in your own words, and then we get to hear one of your beautiful poems. And just for reference, we read our poetry however it feels natural to us. If it's in our mother tongue, which is Spanish for you, or is English, or I will welcome other languages as well, because I just want people to feel at ease sharing their art. So I leave it to you.
Thank you. My name is Lisa Gil Ventura. I am a mother of 2 sons. I have been writing since I was 9 years old. I am a poet, an essayist, a reader, a lover of words. And writing for me is oxygen. It is how I make sense of my world, and it is how I process life through journaling. I've been journaling all my life, but I didn't know I was a writer until I attended my first writing workshop with the Dominican Writers Association.
What year was that?
That was 2019.
So before then, you just thought, I'm just journaling and a lover of words and reading. And you know, most writers that come from our communities or other communities that have not learned to write in a formal way, they do not consider themselves writers, which is very different than the dominant culture that prevails in publishing, who were inspired or taught to think of themselves as writers in many communities.
Right. I mean, I didn't think of myself. I didn't even think of the possibility that I can write a book. Yeah. Because no one around me had ever done that before, you know. So it wasn't until I met Angie and, you know, she had all the resources, she had all the information, and that's where I thought that this was a possibility for me. And, you know, my book is my love story. It's an anniversary gift, a 10th anniversary gift to my husband. 10 then.
10 then. How about now?
Tomorrow, which is also my birthday. I got married on my birthday. Tomorrow will be sweet 16. It'll be our 16th anniversary. So this happened beautifully, serendipitously, actually. But yeah, so I figured that at some point I would want to write. After like I maybe thought about the possibility, I'm like, well, this is a love story. I feel like my love story is a fairy tale.
It is.
And I should write about it. And then that's what happened. I had all these poems were the poems that I wrote while we were apart, because we did have a long distance relationship.
For how long?
For 2 years.
For 2 years.
We met in DR, love at first sight. We fell in love. And but, you know, he was over there, I was over here. And in the process of him coming over here, we were apart for the most part. And I visited several times, but then also I started thinking about, we got to save up for when the time comes. So these are all the poems that I had collected, that I had written from the moment I met him till maybe about our first anniversary. So that's what this is.
That's awesome. So let's hear one of your love poems
Yes,
to your husband. And,
absolutely.
And blessings. Making 16 is great. I just made 18 years for my husband.
Oh, yay.
Con mi negro bello. I love him to death. As you know, I'm Dominican. He's African American, and we have 3 kids. So, we are plátanos and collard green for sure.
That's a beautiful thing. That is a beautiful thing. Yes, I got me ¿cómo se dice? Purebred.
You got
I got me a purebred from un campito en Las Guaranas, in San Francisco de Macorís. And the way that he presented and the way that he showed himself to me and the way that he made me feel, I just knew. I was like, I can't leave this alone. I need this in my life.
May all our daughters find love like that.
Amen, amen. So I'm going to go with Hablas de amor. Dices que mi humildad, voz ronca y sensual, fue lo que te enamoró. Dices que mi pajón te saludó. Arrastró tu corazón y jamás has dejado de pensar en mí. Dices que todo ocurrió por una razón, que el universo nos unió, en un alma nos convirtió y fue rosado el testigo de nuestra transformación. Dices que soy tu amor, tu vida, un regalo de Dios para llenar el vacío que una vez existió. Dices que a pesar del sudor que causa este amor, no hay que vivir en temor. Dices que seremos lo mejor. Yo para ti, tú para mí. Si fue el destino que nos presentó, olvidemos el dolor. Derritamos cualquier rencor, aprovechemos el olor y el sabor de esta verdadera unión.
Oh my God, I got a little teary because between the pause, between the words, between you breathing in to say the next words, I just imagine a young Lisa falling in love. And thank you for gifting us that.
Yes, it is an honor and a pleasure to do this. I'm doing this full-time now. I try to figure it out, try to make it happen, try to see what comes from it. I had a career in social work, and, that was pretty heavy. But in the midst of all that heaviness is where the writing started, and the writing fueled me to continue working and doing what I had to do until I was able to finally just be like, I want to do this full time, because for me, I don't see myself doing anything else but like writing and performing and creating, which is something I've been doing since I was a little girl. I've been a performer all my life. I used to be in like dance classes and all these little performing arts talent shows, after school programs that prepared me to be able to stand on a stage in front of a mic. And even if, with the nerves and the adrenaline and all that, it's what I love to do, and it's fun. And I just get it started and push through.
I have to give a shout out to my compadre Luis. So if he sees this and he hears me say this, there was a time he asked me to read one of my poems, and I write poetry sometimes. Mm-hmm. But me performing it, now that is a beautiful disaster.
Yeah.
And I've seen you perform, and you come with with confidence, your poise, and all your words hit. Now, you explained to us that you did performing since you were little. Mm-hmm. How is that different than performing poetry? Because people might not realize that there's an art to that. It's mm-hmm. very hard to deliver mm-hmm. on those words and carry and exude the confidence and also the messages that mm-hmm. each poem intends to do. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I feel like poetry for me all poems bring their own energy.
Yes.
Right? So it depends what the topic is, what the theme is. If I'm talking about love, there's an energy of love. So if I'm performing, I gotta bring the lovely energy, the love energy. If there's a poem about rage or anger or I'm standing up for a cause, then I gotta bring that energy. And when I write my poetry, the poem lets me know what the energy is.
Yeah.
And then when I'm writing it, I'm also seeing myself performing it. And I'm like, how would I perform this? Or like, where does the attitude, because, there's an attitude, or I need to speak loudly or low here. So it all depends on what the energy of the poem is.
And you're doing this full time, and I'm so glad that you said previously to poetry you were doing social work. I did social work too. Before I got my undergraduate degree in psychology, I was working with one of the toughest populations, and I say that with respect, because when you're working with people that are unhoused and suffering addictions on top of that, and there's this little 22-year-old something saying like, I want to help.
That exactly, just like that,
22-year-old something, and you're trying to bring your textbook knowledge to it, and then you get beat up. You get beat up emotionally. You get beat up through the system, and then you see like all these individuals and humans are just trying to make life work.
Right.
So they have this rage already through them. So I could see through doing a job that you were in love with becomes love less, and then you look for love somewhere else.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Are you okay?
No,
you okay?
everything.
Did I hit it?
No. Because everything you said is
True.
Completely right.
Yeah. And working with those colleagues are hard too. Let's say some of them are either, I think the social work term is called transference. They're like feeding off their clients, or been there and became a case manager, caseworker. I used to be a community follow-up worker, and I thought I wanted to be a social work. I just picked up my bags and I'm like,
it's hard work.
I love you. God bless you.
It's hard work.
It's not you, it's me.
It's hard work. But since very little, and I think that that was already, the social worker thing was already in me because child of immigrants, right? My parents without resources. I am a welfare kid. I am a Section 8 kid. And I was the first one in my family to go to college. I was the one translating the documents for mommy, going with her to the appointments.
I was horrible at translating the documents. I'm going to tell you the moment I knew que yo no servía para eso. I didn't understand the word alien was referring to
I was thinking about like extraterrestrial.
But I was 7 or 8.
Yeah.
I'm standing in this long line, and then other people come to me asking me to translate, and my sister, who is much older than me, doesn't even correct me. She's having a ball saying, "¿Cuándo tú fuiste un tuturu?"
Oh my goodness! Yes, it's rough. It's rough because as a kid you don't know what these things are. These are huge words.
Yeah. And you're learning yourself.
I'm learning myself. I'm just learning the language too. So it's like, I think it says that we gotta go to the office and bring some whatever.
I remember saying, espérate. Like just reading it over.
Reading it to see if you pick up another word, right? That might give you a context clue.
And my favorite word, ¿pa qué te sirve el inglés? I loved hearing the older folks tell you that. but through that experience, it made you a writer, though.
Yeah, because I'm a reader,
and a lot of your poetry reflects those socioeconomic issues as well.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. I write about what I know, and what I don't know, I research it, I look it up, and then I use my creativity to shape it and to write about it as if I knew about it.
I want to share some facts because I know you shared that you're going to be doing this full time. And I think a lot of individuals don't understand how hard it is to be a poet. The market for poetry has an audience, but it's a small one. According to the U.S. poetry audience, about 20 million adults, about 11.7% of the U.S. adults read poetry in a year. And that's through this survey that took place in 2017. So it's roughly 2018. But when we look at the poetry engagement, it remains between 9 to 12%. It means that exact number depends whether we're reading alone or reading plus listening with streaming. TikTok, we have TikTok videos of people trying to get their work out there. As poets, there's a lot of associations that are trying to carry the work forward. But then the most impactful experience, to me, the median pay based on the U.S. Bureau of Labor for a poet, the annual wage is $72,270 for the broader writers and authors occupation, including poets. But that is actually much lower.
Yeah, I know. I know. But the fact is that, I mean, it's what makes me happy.
It's what makes you happy.
It's what makes me happy. And right now, I'm not really making anything from it. But I don't see myself doing anything else. And I'd rather stick with this and see what happens than go and be somewhere where I'm not happy, where I'm just going with the motions. And this brings me joy, and it brings happy energy. And as a mom, you know, I have to set an example too for my children
to go after their dreams.
Exactly.
I agree with you, because when I started writing, at first I wrote the book and hid it. But the reason I'm sharing these facts is because, and I'm so happy you shared, I do this full time, but I want the broader audience. What does that mean, doing this full time? How many opportunities come? Because a lot of people don't know. Poets, children's book writers, different genres, even romance writers, either you're self-published or traditionally published. Some of us are still pushing this while not being able to make have the economic opportunity to sustain ourselves for the love of the arts. And it's not because there's no money. That's not true. I just told you how big the percentage of readers are.
Right.
But traditional published authors, when they go to poetry, not many of us are accepted. Like it's very small. I think the percentage is under 2 to 3% that will pick up a story from a Latino writer, from a Black writer, even a little higher, but it's still low.
Right.
So when we think about the writers that are making it, why not us? Right. That is my question.
Exactly.
Why not us?
Exactly. I'm blessed that right now I'm able to say I could do this full time because my husband is supporting us. He's taking care of us. He's doing what he needs to do it because he knows, he's like, I know that you're good at this, and I know that you love this, so I want to support you in every way I can so that you can go do what you have to do and see where it takes us. That's the only reason why I'm able to do that full time.
Yeah.
Because if not, how are we going to pay the bills?
To just inform our viewers or whoever's listening, when we have writers that are poets and are doing this full time, they're constantly pitching to institutions like the Department of Education that need authors to teach literacy and other skill sets to our students, or some community-based organizations that are teaching adults in literacy. And lastly, museums. So those are like our target areas of like businesses that we focus on. But there's opportunities where writers are creating their own flagship class to teach to others, and that's how we met through the Dominican Writers Association, as Angie, who took on the responsibility of carrying this mission forward. And now we have not only a network of other writers, but everyone through the Dominican Writers Association doesn't necessarily need to be Dominican to take part in the stories. It's just that they're amplifying Dominican voices, because there was no Dominican voices in writing. It was only Julia Alvarez at one point in time that was recognized. But many people that come from many different communities, whether it's African American, white, Asian, other, have come and taken advantage of some of the free writers classes that she delivers. But the reason I'm mentioning this is because when we talk about us monetizing from our art, their opportunities are not given to us. And that is something big that we try to discuss and dismantle to give education. Because education is not only learning how to put some words. There is an art. There is a science.
Yeah.
And if you're traditionally published, your book is only going to get featured probably less than 2 months, because then they move on to the next title. So the author, whether they're traditionally published or self-published, has the mission of pushing this book and reminding people, it's like the book is having a birthday party every day.
Every day.
Like, este libro nació y yo lo amo. But it's the truth.
Yeah. But also that's very hard to do. I'm more introverted. So it's really difficult for me to put myself out there and to be like, hey, I have a book. And because I'm just not the type.
Yeah.
But I am proud of my book. I am proud of the work of art that I did. So I am learning and I am pushing myself up. Here I am. Here I am. I am learning how to let go of that fear of being seen. And of promoting myself.
And why do we have a hard time promoting ourselves? Is it because we grew up being muchacha, cállate? Or because we did this thing and then our cultural aspect is pulling at us, and then the fact that we don't know how to do the promotion. Promotion is an art in itself.
Absolutely.
As well.
Absolutely.
So I'll let you take it.
Well, for me, there was no muchacha cállate. In my family just let me be. I was the little la relambita. Siempre, I was always playing teacher, and I was always doing something crafty in my family. This is just who I am to my family. So eventually they knew I was going to grow up to do something
spectacular,
arts-based, or be in the spotlight, because I've always just been doing shows, dance shows, this, that, in the spotlight. But it's just hard for me because, one, when I was younger, I felt like the little ugly duckling. You know, I just didn't feel confident enough to put myself out there like that. And it's also hard now because, now we have social media and there are so many people that could just be in the comments, trashing you. Or my thing is there's always, every time I've done something that has felt good for me or that I thought, there was always somebody's like, but why are you wearing that? But why are you doing that?
Like they say,
exactly.
Kids. And I will say this, I have gotten many negative comments, and some I'm not going to share because it's unworthy of our mission. And, I grew up religious, so I heard a lot about different parables, and one of them was the parables of the talent. And I'm not going to, teach a doctrine, but I am going to say, if you don't use your talent, you might lose it. And it is the blessing that was bestowed upon you. Now, that talent is not meant for other people to see it, maybe, and maybe it's not for them. The talent that you're sharing is meant for those that it's blessing us, literally. Because one of the things I've noticed, and I've gotten a lot of negative comments, and some of them, I cried about it in private. Most recently, we had a very negative comment. It was so negative, and it was disheartening because. If you see the entirety of the conversation, it was talking about the variety of types of people that are Dominican, that it's not a monolith, it's not like one single race.
Right.
And there was some racial attacks, but if you heard the entire conversation and even the things we write, we don't write stating who we are not. We're writing, we are all of this and so much more.
Right.
And so much more, because it's also the same in the United States. When we think about the United States, there's so many people. And I think right now, chasing our happiness is just the priority. And I'm trying to make sure that I live by that example to my kids. Yeah. Because if my kids will tell me, Mom, and this has happened, two of my kids, when they were younger, they're like, I want to be a YouTuber. Like, I'm like, okay, that's great, but you need to learn how to read and write and do math before you become a YouTuber.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to try to tell them, don't be a YouTuber, honey, but like, we could do YouTubing while learning
while setting the foundation.
Yeah. But like, again, why would I discourage my own kids? So I don't have the heart to discourage other people. If something's not for you, please go chase your happiness.
Right.
Because I'm out here chasing mines and trying to help my friends do the same.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty much, that's the goal, right?
That's the
goal. I want my children to feel comfortable in their own skin first and foremost.
Which is the hardest when we live in a country that has banned books by people that look like us, have names like us, or are supporting other communities that are right now being banned.
Right. Yeah, so comfortable in their skin, comfortable with their hair, comfortable with their talents and gifts. And I try to like pull that out of them,
which is hard again.
Because why not? First and foremost, but also because it's important for their friends and everyone around to see that we belong here.
We're here.
We're worthy.
We're not going.
Yeah, we're worthy. We have our own stories. We have our own culture, and we're so diverse.
Yeah.
Too. There's so many of us, so many different versions of us. But mainly, I just want to be a role model, pretty much, for the children, for the little girls. I just recently started thinking to myself, like, because I have a hard time showing up as myself, or like I like to hide myself a lot because
until you feel
I don't want
comfortable.
people, but then I start thinking about all the little girls. Some of my son's friends at school, they're like, you're so beautiful and you're so pretty. And I'm like,
I need that every day.
That's such a beautiful thing to say, and when I think about it, I'm like, I want to show up as the person that I needed when I was little.
Yes.
I want to be that girl that if I see you, if I would have saw myself as a kid, I would have been like, oh my God, what? She could wear her hair big. She doesn't have to relax it.
Yeah.
She could just show up being colorful. I'm very colorful. I like lots of colors. I like vibrant colors. I like, so I don't want to hide any of that stuff. And I don't want younger kids to hide it either.
So through your performance and your family and the encouragement you did, you became the poet and the role model you want for yourself and for others. When was the first time you met a poet or a writer that encouraged you to push on?
It was in college. I met her. I saw her in college. I met her in college. She was performing. It was La Bruja. I don't know, Caridad, La Bruja. When I saw her in college, in my freshman year in college, and I saw her perform and just
Which
her
college?
energy, Binghamton University.
Okay.
I was like, I got chills. I got chills because I was like, oh, I think I could do that. I think I want to do that.
Isn't that the best when you meet the person that inspires you to do that?
Yes. And then she ended up being a sorority sister because I pledged the organizations that she's a part of. And when I started like writing more, getting into it, and I asked her, what advice do you have for me? She was like, just keep writing. Write. I didn't know what that meant. Like, okay, because how much can you write and then what happens?
No, and you know what? I'm glad you talk about that because for me, the first writer I met and I went to college with and I had no idea I was going to be following, I don't want to say I'm following her path, but she was my inspiration, was Kiani Antigua. Mm-hmm. We both graduated from City College. I seen her perform and I saw her do, she was just completely masterful, know? And I love the simplicity of things that she was highlighting in children's book. But when I told her before I wrote a book, what should I do? She's like, just read and write.
Yeah.
And it sounds like such a trivial thing to say.
Yeah.
And that is the advice I give to people. I give another advice before you write your book. I always say, especially if it's in the children's book space, please try to read at least 100 children's book. It doesn't matter if it's little or if it's huge, like like almost like a chapter book, but try to read and then see the themes that are coming out of it. And you'll probably have an idea of what theme you're looking for. And I'll give an example. We'll focus on hair because at the time, before the big hair book came out, Hair Love, there were people trying to write something about hair. And they didn't see all the books that came before Hair Love.
Right.
All the different types of illustrations that were coming out of it. Because you have to study the illustration. You have to study the typography.
You have to study the craft.
You have to study the publishers who are doing it right. Because, yeah, you could write and read. And then if you pitch, that's how you know who you want to pitch your book to.
Exactly.
Are you going to pitch your book to Scholastic? Or are you going to pitch, like, as a children's book writer, right? So now let's reverse engineer that. As a poet, they told you just to continue writing.
Right.
Who do poets go after and say, like, this is like the mecca for poets?
Who do poets go after?
Yeah, like from publishers.
That's a good question. I'm still doing the research, right? And for a really long time after I started calling myself a poet officially, I felt there was the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I have not studied everybody. I don't know all the poets. I haven't read all the poetry book. And in my mind, I felt that I had to like take everything in, take all of it in before I can finally call myself a poet. But what I'm learning is that this is a journey.
It's a journey.
This is a journey, and you got to continue studying the craft. And the more you read, the more you learn. The more you learn about technique, the more you learn about, they say learn all the rules so that you can learn how to break them.
Yes, and then the other thing is there's not a lot of publishers that accept poetry.
Right. Yeah,
so that's the big one.
It's a very small market.
It's a very small market. That's why I start
market.
with how small it is and how many people are living off that craft. Because for children's book writers, it's very like the path is clear. There's like Simon and Schuster. There's the Big Five, like Scholastic, this and that. For poets, it's different. There's very small process that pick up poets. Yeah.
But lucky for me.
Lucky for you.
I am also an essayist. Oh. So if poetry doesn't pan out, then I could do memoir-like, I could do nonfiction.
Are we working on that?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Do you want to share a little bit? Like, what are you studying and how to go through that path? Because it's different than poetry, but kind of the same.
What kind of? Well, I love reading lots of memoirs. I love reading nonfiction books. And my favorites are also... I love watching documentaries because for me it's all about the process of like people's process or the process of the journey. How do athletes or how do, artists go from being their little selves and then, becoming something great? Like what are the steps? What does it take? Who are the people? What are the routes? I love learning about all that stuff. I love studying that so that when the time comes, I know what steps to take. Yes.
Yeah. And as an essayist, you're teaching that craft sometimes.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that. Because you've taught some classes.
I've taught creative nonfiction. So the good thing about creative nonfiction is that it's not one of those like
strict.
Right. Creative nonfiction, you could just be creative. So you're telling stories pretty much, and you're doing it in your creative voice.
And a short format, too.
In a shorter format, yes. In a creative voice, and just you can add to it what comes natural.
Is that why you joined Substack, to actually see?
Oh, yeah. I heard, like, even Angie was like, you are going to thrive in Substack.
Yes.
But also... I did it because I just want to get my work out there, because I want to share my work, because I have content on top of content that's just taking up space.
And why isn't it out, mijita?
Right. There was the fear.
That's the missing book.
Yeah. There was the fear. There was also, and I was a VONA. I'm a VONA alumni, and I'm also a Latinx and publishing alumni. So all these things, learning the craft. Learning what it takes.
Yes.
But also, why it's not out there? I'm a mom.
That's true.
So I got to learn how to
the balancing. So the reason I started with the facts, most writers are working a full-time job, 9 to 5, and you've been blessed that you're working on this full-time. And at the same time, like, for example, I work full-time. I have a 9 to 5. I work at a legal firm. I no longer do social work.
Okay.
But shout out to people who do that.
Yeah, yeah.
I have 3 kids, one in college, 2 who are younger. That one is in middle school and one is in high school. And then I still do my art on the side. I work Saturdays sometimes, Sundays, when a school welcomes me for some of their special events. Or sometimes I take a day off to go and do an event at a school or teach a class on that. One of my favorite classes that I taught, and this happened last year, and if you give me a minute, I'll share what happened. I taught through a poem. I thought to a poem, a 9th grade class and a 10th grade class. Now, this poem, I forgot the name of that author, but he's Chilean. And the poem is beautiful, and it talks about society, and it says, amigos, no hay amigos. But I got the one in English because it had to be in English because all my students were English speaking. So we read this poem, and some of the shyest students started like talking, and they had to write to the poem. And what I told them, and I wanted to highlight paper genocide. So the writer who wrote that poem is Chilean. But when you looked up the English translation, it says unknown.
Really?
And I said, this is how it starts. And this is a poem that came out years ago. I forgot how long, but we're talking centuries ago.
Right.
And when the individuals that were participating in the class, they started asking questions. They started asking questions about how come in Spanish we know the name and why would they write unknown? Is it because of this, because of that? If I write, can my name be erased and it will also be unknown? And I'm like, that's the importance of writing.
Yep. And I mean, and now look at our climate now. We are being erased, not just from a paper. We're being erased from the planet, from the earth. We're just being.
So I feel like archiving videos, writing things down, publishing it, it's very hard to erase things that are out there.
Right.
But we're also teaching our next generation how to say we are here.
Yeah, we are here. We were here, and this is what happened when we were here.
Yes.
I enjoy historical fiction too, and I enjoy like learning about the things of the past, and that's what I think about. You know, I'm not gonna be here forever. So here are moments. My journals. Here's my writing. Here's what was happening at such and such time. So, you know, my kids could read it in the future. Their kids could read it in the future.
They can learn from it.
They can learn from it, and it keeps us here. It keeps us.
So I say this joke, we could have a Back to the Future moment because me and my husband are fans of Back to the Future.
Okay, yeah.
But think about it. That's literally what you're doing, like regressing in time, learning from that experience, and you see so much similarities.
Right.
You know, individuals were learning about love, about finances, about how to thrive as a family and how to push them forward. And decades, years later, we're still doing that now. So, Lisa, I've been having such a blast talking to you. But I want to, before we close, I want to know, how is it that we should think about your work? How is it that we should celebrate your work? And what is it that you want to leave to people when we think about your work?
That's a good question.
You can take your time.
I guess I would say in my writing, the page doesn't let me hide.
Ooh.
The page.
Wait, let's repeat that. Let's repeat that. Hold on. In my writing, the page doesn't let me hide.
I cannot lie to the page. I cannot hide because when it's me and the page.
Is it your mirror?
It is, but it's also just like the page is like, come on, give it to me. Because I know right now, out loud, you want to say this, and I know you want to curse out this person, and I know you're angry about this. I can handle it. Let me have it. So that's what the writing is for me. So when people encounter my work, they are encountering the most authentic, rawest, purest version of myself.
Oh my God. So knowing that, and you wrote Con qué papel me envuelvas la luna, which I love that title. Can you translate it for us?
All right, so ¿con qué papel me envuelves la luna? La luna. So pretty much, it means with what wrapping paper would you wrap the moon for me?
And gift it to me.
And gift it to me.
So when you wrote this book, what was it that you didn't tell your husband that you wanted to say? Because you said the paper said, okay, you can't lie to me.
Right. So so my husband, thank God, I feel he makes me feel safe.
Yes.
He makes me feel really safe and vulnerable in Spanish. Being vulnerable in Spanish is very different than being vulnerable in English.
I hate that I understand what that means.
Yes, for me, I could, people saying te amo. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's such a huge word. It's so filled with like.
It's true. My husband doesn't tell me I love you because he knows it means much more to say te amo.
Oh, really?
And today, before I came here, I said, thank you for loving me when I have a hard time loving myself. And he said, but I cannot not love you. I love everything about you. Mm-hmm. I love when you're beautiful. I love when you're not that pretty. Yeah. I love this. I just want to be next to you all the time, even when you were sick. So why are you saying thanking me when not to love you? I'm like, right now, I just want to just like hold you tight. And when he said that, it was because of his words and how he anchors us. Like, I always feel safe to be myself, even when he knows I have a hard time saying it.
Absolutely. And with this, what I'm trying to say is he had already shown to me that if he can go and get me the moon, he would get me the moon. And I'm just wondering, I know you'll get me the moon, but what paper? No, but what paper would you wrap it in?
Oh,
because I'm a person of details. I love, little decorating and all that thing.
So that's why the paper had to be. What is the detail you'll do to win everything for me? I just feel like I fell in love with you even more.
Yeah. He's shown that to me, that there's no lengths he's willing to go, like whatever it is I need, and I don't even have to ask for it sometimes. He'll just do things for me that I'll just be like, you're a godsend, which he really is. You're a godsend. And we're constantly telling each other because, there's still some things that he can't do that I can do really well for him and vice versa. So we ask each other. And I even have a poem in the book with the title, ¿Qué tú harías sin mí?
Can you please read that? I need to hear that before we close, because it makes me love this story so much more.
¿Qué harías sin mí? Yeah, 43. Because there's just some things where, like, if you wouldn't have done that for me, like, oh my gosh. ¿Qué harías sin mí? Yo, sin ti, soy como el otoño sin brisa. A tu lado es más sencillo respirar. Cuando no estás, me siento como un jarrón sin flores, como un árbol sin hojas. ¿Cómo estar si que no estés? Qué complicado es soñar sin sueño. Incompleta como una playa sin arena me siento. Como un poste sin lámpara, como la música sin amplificador. Desierta se encuentra mi alma cuando estás y no estoy.
I'm just going to let that sit because it says so much about your love story. And now that it's your sweet 16.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that your love has grown even more. Like, that childhood love is nothing compared to that.
Right.
So what poems are you writing for him now? Or we're working on that one.
No, we're not there yet, because eventually, yes. And especially, we've been together for so long. This was the beginning. This was before we even really knew each other, before we really lived together, before we knew what it takes to make a marriage work. A marriage that started so unconventionally, too. I got married on my birthday. I wasn't planning on getting married on my birthday. I just went to visit him for my birthday. So we were just going to hang out. I was there for like 4 days. And then one thing led to the next, and we just ended up getting married.
And your family was totally supportive.
My mother had already told me, like, you doing all these trips back and forth, like you were spending mad money. Like, why don't you guys just get married? She met him though because when I went on vacation, she was with me.
Yeah.
So she met him,
And
she was the one that was like,
this needs to happen.
yeah, exactly. She was like, consíguetelo, and I'm like,
So
I'm working on it.
So when I met my husband, I was pregnant with my daughter Andrea, my first, the father of my child. It was not a good relationship. I don't think we were good for each other. But I am so happy he found what makes him happy in life, because I don't want to wish bad on anyone. But you know, a lot of the reasons we separated was because he was an alcoholic at the time and didn't want to get help. But that doesn't mean he was a horrible person, because that'll be a lie. There was love there, just not enough for a future. I met my husband at work and we were friends, and he was dating someone. He was seeing someone. So through our friendship grew, we talked. This when Andrea was born, I still remember he came to visit me and brought me a t-shirt that they sell. We worked for the Department of Health. He brought a t-shirt that said like New York City Department of Health, something like that, and I was just like, this is so cute.
Little things.
It was the little things.
Little
and then
things.
all of a sudden, him and the person he was with, I'm not sure. So that relationship was coming to an end, let's put it like that. And I was being a single mother, and he worried because I was taking the train. So he used to rush from work. He left the current job to someplace else. He rushed from work, and then I noticed that he would say, "Where are you? I want to pick you up and the baby and Andrea." So it became like I saw him every day, and my husband and my husband met my mom and dad, and my dad was like, Papi está como, ese está atrás de algo. But no, but like we were friends we didn't start dating. It didn't like really click to me. This was my person to Andrea. It was a year and 7 months. And then when we started dating, it was always, we were always there for each other, but I was just so concerned of getting my heart broken again.
I got it.
So hearing that on you, it's beautiful. And I'll just say this. When I hear your poems and I hear your love story and I hear everything I learned from you, I just think, you know, there was a movie called The Piano. They talked about like this beautiful love story. But I think your love story, my love, is the best.
Thank you. And there's deeper stuff. It's a beautiful love story, but then there's also lots of faith and very
and the variation.
What's the word? This connection started in the ether, started in the heavens.
The synergy and the spirits uniting. And I feel the same about my love story. And with that, I will tell you, Con qué papel me envuelves la luna is not just a one-time book. I can't wait to see the next chapter of your love story. So thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It is an honor and a pleasure. And yeah, cheers to whatever comes next from all of this.
Amen.